Okay, let's see if we can spot a few people coming in. The numbers are piling up. That's great. We'll give everybody a chance to fix their hairs, turn on their cameras. 26, that's great. Okay, just give it a couple more seconds. And we had quite a few registrants, and we'll see what proportion of them show up. Okay. I think we're stabilizing out there. Okay, super duper. So welcome everybody. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to this webinar. It's a joint effort between GSA, of which I am the current Biological Sciences Chair, and NIA. And the idea here is that we're going to introduce you to a whole bunch of opportunities to get money to support your research. So what opportunities are out there, how to match your career stage. And then hopefully you'll see over the course of this that NIA is on your side, and everybody here is rooting for you to send in your best grants and to succeed at study section and then succeed in doing the research once you get those grants. So I'll just take one quick second to tell you about GSA, the Gerontological Society of America. Some of you may be members, some may not. And so we're the oldest aging research society in America, over 75 years old. And we have a whole host of different disciplines that are represented by GSA, but I'm the biological sciences component. We have a session at our annual meetings, and I want to tell you that our upcoming meeting is Building Bridges, Catalyzing Research, Empowering All Ages. That's the theme. And it's going to be in Tampa, Florida in November from the 8th to the 12th. So you can just go to the Gerontological Society of America and find it there, not to be confused with the Geological Society of America or the Genetics Society of America. I think the GSA has been overused, and you can find the information there. So we've got a great lineup for you, in particular looking at some of the new opportunities available through NIH for Career Development Awards. You can see our speakers here, Jamie Lahvic and Christy Carter from the Program Office at NIA. Office of Strategic Extramural Programs and the Division of Aging Biology, which is my own home, where all the people I care the most about, well, almost, because Beta's on the call as well. We also have panelists, Beta from the Scientific Review Branch, Maria Carenza, who's also Office of Extramural Programs, and a cameo feature of Brianna Stubbs, who's a recent recipient of one of the newer grant mechanisms. So quick housekeeping, we're going to be using the Q&A function. Send in your comments and chats or comments and questions, and we will answer them as we go live. And there will be an opportunity for questions and answers also at the end of the session. So with that, I think we should just kick things off. I'm going to hand it over to Jamie, and let's get all that information flowing.
All right, thanks so much, Roz. We are all real excited to be here. So today I'm going to be giving you a quick overview of some K awards at the NIA, but then I'm going to be focusing specifically on the K22 as well as the REDI K01, which are some of our newer K awards that I think not everybody has heard about. So we're excited to share about those, and then I'll be handing things off to my colleague Christy for some grant tips and pitfalls. So this is the training and career development landscape at NIA. So my office, the Office of Strategic Extramural Programs, kind of oversees all of the different training opportunities at NIA. And you can see that there are quite a few of them, and that they really span across the career stages. The K awards, though, are mostly popping up, you can see, at the postdoc and the faculty stages. So we're talking today specifically about early career Ks that are for postdocs and early career faculty. And there are 4 major K awards for these early career folks. Many people have heard of the K99, which is, of course, the transition award from postdoc to faculty stage. And then today I'll talk a bit more about the K22 and the REDI K01. And then the sort of more typical K01 is a career development award for faculty members. I do want to highlight for anybody on the line who is international. So if you are doing research in the US on a visa, the K99 is the only one you're going to be eligible for. These other 3 all require you to be a US citizen or a permanent resident. So in general, these awards provide primarily salary funding ranging from 75 to 100,000. They provide sort of a small bucket of research funding, 25 to 50K, and they all require you to be committing about 75% of your effort to your research and career development. They're also going to require you to write a career development plan. So you're not just writing a research plan, you're also trying to improve your career. And the goal is that the funding in this award and pursuing that career development plan that you write would lead to your independence in both your career and your research. So first, I'm going to talk a bit about this K22 Transition Award. So the K22 is a transition award without a mentored phase. So the goal here is to promote the transition of postdocs into a faculty position. The way it works is that a postdoc who is between 2 and 8 years of postdoctoral experience submits an application where they've described an independent research plan. So the research plan that they want to pursue as a faculty member. If your application is successful, what we do is we send you an approval letter. So this does not give you any funding, but once you receive the approval letter, you then have 1 year to find a tenure-track faculty position and begin your faculty position. So once you've started the faculty position, you then actually have to send in this K22 activation award, and that's when we actually start the funding. And that funding is 3 years of funding and up to $100,000 of salary support and up to $50,000 of research support. So this might sound a little bit like the K99 in that you're applying as a postdoc, but you're receiving faculty funding. A big difference here is that there is no funding during the postdoctoral phase. You just get that approval letter and the funding doesn't start until you're a faculty member. So why might you want to apply for the K22 instead of the K99? One reason is a difference in eligibility. So the K22 requires between 2 and 8 years of postdoctoral experience, whereas the K99 only allows up to 4 years of experience. So if you're a little further along in your postdoc, the K22 might be a better fit. Additionally, when you write your career development plan for your K22, you're focusing on growing your career while you're a faculty member, not continued career development as a postdoc. So this is a good fit for somebody who is currently still a postdoc, but you're really ready to start a faculty job search. You're ready to start a faculty job. You don't need significant additional mentorship as a postdoc. And so according to that, you do not need to identify a mentor team for the K22, though you may want to identify collaborators and consultants who would be working with you on your research. Additionally, the K22 allows a faster transition to your faculty position, and I'll go into a little more detail on that. However, caution, don't be too quick. If you start a faculty position before you receive your K22 letter of approval, we are not going to send you that letter of approval and you'll never get the K22 funding because this really is a transition award. So it's meant for folks who have not yet started a faculty job. So if you are, currently negotiating for a job, right, you've received a job offer, you're expecting to start in the next 6 months, 9 months, then really the K22 is not best for you. In that case, you should think about the K01, which is a career development award for folks who already have a faculty position. So here's a little more detail in terms of the timeline. So let's imagine that you are going to submit an application this October in the next cycle, and you're trying to decide whether you should go for the K22 or the K99. So if you submit a K22, the review process takes quite a long time at the NIA, and you would, if you're successful, you'd receive your letter of approval about 9 months after your application due date. And then once you receive that letter of approval, you can start a faculty position anywhere from 0 to 12 months after receiving that letter. So the K22 is a good fit for somebody who plans to start a faculty job between next summer and summer of 2025. In contrast, if you apply for the K99, similarly, it's a 9-month review process. If you're successful, though, you get an award and you get postdoctoral funding. And then you're expected to use at least 1 year and up to 2 years of that postdoctoral funding. So the K99 is going to be a better fit for somebody who's planning to start that faculty job in summer 25 up to summer 26. All right, so let's say you've decided to go for that K22. This is sort of an unusual application. The challenge is that you're writing a research plan for research that you're going to pursue in your faculty job, but you don't have the faculty job yet. You're maybe not even interviewing yet. So how do you construct this application? Well, when you're writing your research strategy, make sure you're talking about the research that you plan to do as a faculty member. There shouldn't be that much focus on the research that you might be doing in the next year or so as a postdoc. When you write your career development plan, similarly, you should focus on the career development that you're going to pursue as a faculty member. And the long-term goal there is to get research independence and R01 level funding. So you'd want to be talking about what kinds of activities would you be needing to do in order to be preparing for those R01 applications. There are no mentor statements because you won't be identifying any mentor since you don't know what institution you're going to. However, it is useful to provide letters of support from folks like collaborators and consultants. So those would not necessarily need to be at your faculty institution since you don't know what that faculty institution is. But as you're starting to plan your faculty research job, you should be thinking about who are you going to need to really collaborate with on that project, and you can start building relationships with those people. The institutional and environment and commitment section is a little tricky because you don't know your institution. So how do you describe the environment? So in this case, you actually should describe your current postdoctoral environment. And the key there is you want to talk about how are they going to support you in getting to your faculty position, right? Do they have any programs to support folks who are on the tenure track job market, for instance? Is your current mentor going to support you through that application phase, et cetera? So it's not so important to talk about how they can support your research since you're really wrapping up your research at this institution, but how can they support your transition to a faculty phase? All right, so that's the K22. Next, I would like to tell you about the REDI K01 Career Exploration Award. So this is an award that is also talking about transition, but this is a better fit for somebody who is considering transitioning perhaps to a non-academic career. So the REDI program is the Research and Entrepreneurial Development Immersion Program at the NIA. And this is actually an umbrella program that covers 3 different awards. All of these awards are aimed at helping early career individuals explore a range of potential careers. So we want you to be an entrepreneur in thinking about your own career, right? Find out what you need to learn to get to the career position that you want to be in. So you could use these awards to explore entrepreneurship and making startups, but you could also explore intellectual property jobs, regulatory affairs, science communication, science policy. It's really a wide field that you could think about. So of these 3 awards, today I'm going to talk about the K01 because this is an award for an individual who is pursuing a career transition. So the idea of the REDI K01 is that someone who holds this award would be both pursuing research activities as well as career exploration that is tailored to you and your own career goals. Those research activities do need to be within the focus area of the National Institute on Aging, so it should be aging or ADRD research focus. And then for your career exploration, you might think about pursuing activities like internships, shadowing, taking courses. There's really a lot of possibilities. And that would be exploring a non-academic field, such as entrepreneurship or science communication or consulting or drug discovery. Again, this is wide, and if you have an idea of what you want to explore, you're definitely encouraged to reach out to us and see if it would be a good fit. And then the idea is that these 2 things together would really serve to advance your career. So this could mean that you're going to go off and explore these other career options, gain some new skills, and then bring those skills back to enhance your academic career. Alternatively, you could be using these experiences to launch your non-academic career and to pursue this career transition outside of academia. So both of those are good fits for the REDI K01. So to go into a little more detail, as I said, overall, the goal is to provide protected time for both your research, but also your career development and career exploration. The REDI K01 can fund up to around $90,000 in salary, as well as $50,000 that can go to your research costs and these career exploration activities. The award can fund 3 to 5 years. You are required to identify 2 mentors for the REDI K01. So one should be your research mentor, and the other should be your entrepreneurial mentor who is in that non-academic space. And you're highly encouraged to kind of develop a partnership with a non-academic institution. So maybe a startup, maybe a private foundation, an investment firm, et cetera. And that's where we would be expecting you to identify your entrepreneurial mentor. In terms of eligibility, the REDI K01 is for postdocs who have at least 2 years of experience. This can also be for junior faculty. However, you cannot have received a major research grant such as an R01, and you cannot have been funded by another K grant already. And once again, this one does require US citizenship and permanent residency. And so the REDI K01, I think a lot of folks have trouble imagining how they might use this award. So here's a few examples. We've only had a few awardees so far, and we're going to introduce you to one of those awardees in a few moments. But for some of the examples of folks who have been funded, the types of things that they are doing, again, in these 2 realms of the research as well as the career exploration. One person is interested in translating AD-related neurobiology into drug development. And so they've been pursuing certifications in regulatory affairs. We have another awardee who's really interested in digital biomarkers and pain interventions. And so they've been learning about healthcare delivery systems. And then we've got another person whose research focuses on ketones and the therapeutic formulation of these. And they've been exploring the investment world and the startup world. So I think before, some final tips for the REDI K01. Remember, keep in mind that there's really 2 ways to use this, either to go out and find some non-academic skills to bring back to your academic career, or to launch yourself into a non-academic career. So, choose your own adventure there. And remember that we really want you to be an entrepreneur in designing your own career path. So thinking about how can you use the skills that you gained throughout your PhD to lead to a fulfilling career, and what activities are right for you to launch your individual career path. Finally, you want these, your research activities and your career development activities to really be integrated, and for these 2 things to work together to move you towards your next career position. So I'm going to wrap up with a quick look at, who should apply for which award, and then we'll do some intros and hear from a REDI K01 awardee. So a lot of folks actually find themselves eligible for multiple of these awards. So how should you choose which one? Well, if you're a postdoc who has a vision of the kind of research you want to do in your future independent lab, but you're not quite there yet, you still have a lot to learn, you still need some mentored time as a postdoc, you probably should be thinking about the K99, especially if you're still within those first 4 years. If instead you're a postdoc who you're beyond the vision stage. At this point, you have a plan for the independent research you're going to do in your own lab. You don't have major skill gaps. You're ready to enter the tenure-track faculty job market, and you're ready to start your own faculty lab. In that case, the K22 is a really good fit for you. Let's say you're even a little further along. You are currently a postdoc, but you've been on the faculty job market. You've accepted an offer, or you're in negotiation stages and you're expecting to accept an offer soon. Maybe you still need to nail down that start date, but it's going to be coming up in the next year for sure. Then you should think about a K01 and actually working with your new faculty institution to submit a K01, potentially even before you start your faculty job. You're already eligible to apply for the K01 at that point. Alternatively, if you're a postdoc, but you've maybe recently been promoted into a position like research scientist, instructor, a faculty level job that may not be tenure track, but it's still not your same institution, and you want to stay at this institution and pursue mentored career development, you are also eligible to apply for the K01. So the K01 doesn't require a tenure track position, it just requires a faculty level position. So that could be a good fit. Instead, are you a faculty or an early a postdoc or an early career faculty, and you want to explore, you want to be branching out beyond academia and studying a new topic area, and perhaps bringing that knowledge back, or perhaps launching a separate career, in that case, you really should be thinking about the REDI K01. All right, and so with that, I think we're going to take a quick pause and do some introductions. You're on mute, Roz. Yeah.
So yeah, I just want to get everyone have a chance to meet everybody for those slackers who came in a little bit late to the conversation. So I don't know if you can see the same squares that I can, but Christy Carter is here from the Division of Aging Biology Program Office, and she's ready to support all people who love aging biology, and you know you do. We're all part of the fan club. And we've Jamie Lahvic, who just heard from, who's from the Office of Strategic Planning and Extramural Programs. I know I've got all the words. I'm not sure they're in the right order.
Close enough, yeah.
And Maria Carenza, who's answering some of your questions there online and keeping us all up to speed. And so these guys are instrumental in viewing how the grants are operating and bringing in these new mechanisms, which we're so excited about. Beta, I think I'll give you a couple of minutes to introduce yourself, but just quickly is from the scientific review branch. So that's a slightly separate thing that goes on for those of you who don't know how NIA is structured. She'll have a couple of words, and then we're going to hear from Brianna Stubbs in a few minutes. But Beta, let me give you the floor for a couple of minutes just to throw in what you do.
Roz, Christy, Jamie, everybody, thank you for giving me this opportunity. So you heard from Roz, we have NIH or our NIA has two entities, the extramural, intramural, and within the extramural, we have the program office, review office, and grant. I am the representative from the scientific review branch. You heard all about the program office. We are the people who receive your grants. Once you talk to your program officer, you have decided which institute, which mechanism is right for you. You write your application, and then the application is received by NIA, Division of Receipt and Referral. It gets referred to our section, to the scientific review branch. And we have 4 study sections which review different grants, and the K01 or the REDI applications go to the AGCD2, and the K99 goes to AGCD1. And I'm here to answer any questions. We are different from CSR or for Center and Scientific Review, where the R01s, R03s, R21s go and gets reviewed there. NIA reviews over 100 specific emphasis panels with every year, and all the committee and all the K applications are reviewed as a committee applications. And I'm here to answer any questions. I hope I will get a chance to talk to you guys.
Okay, super. Thank you, Bita. And please fire in your questions. And you know, all of these people have electronic devices. You can reach them at any time, any day. Well, not the weekends, right?
Roz, just before, so I forgot to say, so when I receive the applications, I'm the key contact for you guys if you want to submit any extra material, if there is any change in the institution or anything that you need to contact or add to your grant application 30 days prior to the review, I'm your key contact person. Before you write your grant and you submit, the program officers are your person of contact. And once the review is done, the score is released, summary statement is released, I no more can talk to you guys. You can go back to your program officer and they can answer any questions. That's what I say.
Okay, perfect. So you have to choose the right person at the right stage in your application process before you win that award and get all that research money. Brianna, can I ask you to just jump in and give us a little story?
I have a fire alarm going off in the background, so let me know if you can hear it. Nobody's evacuating, so I don't think I'm about to burn down, but it's a little distracting, so you'll have to bear with me. So I had a really non-traditional career path. I did undergraduate medicine at the University of Oxford over in the UK. And while I was there, I was also an elite athlete on the British rowing team. And it just so happened that at that time, Oxford was developing, in collaboration with the NIH actually, a super fuel energy drink for athletes and war fighters in the military. Ultimately, that was where the money was coming from. developing this drink that was an energy drink that contained ketones, and they were looking for the best of the best to test it. And I first became exposed to research as a research subject, was so fascinated by how this, super cool science topic overlapped with my personal interests, and got involved as a research assistant in the holidays. And that was my first research experience. I was so grabbed by the whole thing, and also my rowing career was taking off, and I wanted to pause medical school and have a bit more flexibility with my scheduling. So I had the great idea of combining a PhD with Oxford with elite rowing on the British national team, which was not without its challenges. But at the end of my 3-and-a-bit-year PhD program, I had won 2 World Championships medals and successfully defended my thesis, which focused on ketone drinks for performance in healthy young athletes. So, and a lot of that was clinical research. And interestingly as well, through my PhD, my professor was working on commercializing the ketone ester drink to make a product that they could sell to athletes in the military. And so I got my first exposure to entrepreneurship kind of indirectly. But at the end of my PhD, the timing worked out really nicely that the intellectual property for that ketone drink was licensed to a company to commercialize. And they, I convinced them, I met with the company because they came to visit us at Oxford, and I convinced them that they needed a scientist on their team and not just a load of marketing whizzes and computer programmers and social media specialists. And so the company was based over in California. It was all very exciting at the end of the PhD to be moving from, the dreaming spires of Oxford halfway across the world to, the beautiful weather and palm trees of the West Coast. And I spent 3 years at the startup as their director of science. And it sounds all very official. There was 8 people on the team, and I was the only person that did science. And so in that time, I got exposed to a lot of, different parts of consumer product development. So marketing, operations, pitching to investors, and all things like that. But I really missed science. It was, it was a sales operation, and I wasn't, we didn't have a lab. I felt kind of frustrated that I was speaking to a lot of people and getting people excited about ketone biology and not really able to do any research. And especially since I'd finished my PhD, more and more research had been coming out about how ketones might have health benefits for many conditions of aging, especially. And so I was starting to get more interested in sort of being in San Francisco. I was in like the biohacker space, where people wanted to live healthier and live longer. So I was learning more and more about that. During my time there, I also was successful in applying for some research funding from the STTR and SBIR grant system, which is for small businesses to actually do research, but it didn't really scratch the itch for research fully. And so I actually became in contact with the Buck Institute, who also had a ketone ester compound very similar to what I had studied in my PhD that they wanted to make a product out of. And I was at that point really one of the only people in the world who really knew the science, but also had successfully brought a consumer product like this to market. And so I joined the Buck Institute as the lead translational scientist. And for 3 years, my role was kind of the go-between between the PIs who were doing the basic science and studying ketone biology, and the company who were doing all of the safety and regulatory development for the new consumer product, and setting up marketing claims and evidence bases for things like that. So it was a step on from what I'd done before, and I really enjoyed being in a supportive environment at the Buck. And then, fast forward another couple of years, we see the opportunity for the K01 REDI. And to really move my career on, I felt like, I'd launched 2 consumer products, but I really was curious about ketones as therapeutics, because I think that there's so many potential applications for ketones in healthy aging that I wanted to know, I wanted to be able to make more impact than just making like a cute supplement for athletes or a nice little like healthy aging drink for older adults. So I wanted to develop that part of my career. I'd also seen and been kind of on the sidelines as people negotiated deals to set up these companies. And I'd been involved as a scientific co-founder for a therapeutic effort, but I really wanted to understand how to make deals and the strategies around IP for these kind of things. And then thirdly, also my other kind of goal for my K01 was to take all of the clinical experience that I had with my young elite athletes and learn how to do clinical research with older adults, because there's a whole other set of considerations. You know, it's obvious older people are not Tour de France cyclists. So taking that experience I had and kind of molding it to fit where ultimately I want my career to go, which is, you know, I think my career is a success if I can be part of a team that takes ketone biology and makes it into an impactful drug and maybe consumer product as well, because, you know, I really believe in the science and I really want to be able to use the skills that I've built and the network that I've built to, you know, help as many people as I can. So I think I'll stop there, and I'm really, you know, really thrilled to have the K01 award. I've had the award for a year. I've been using it to go to a number of courses and conferences to build a network, to really learn the different languages that people speak in the academic world, the industry, drug development, and the consumer product world, and in the investment world as well. So it's been really helpful so far, and I'm very excited about the rest of my program.
Oh, thank you. That's terrific. Yeah, you'll be multilingual by the time you're done. And it's true to say the language is just so different, and the way of thinking about things is so different. So a bit of a baptism of fire there. So, well, congratulations on the award. That's aces. Okay, so I think we have, hopefully people's questions and answers are being addressed there in the chats. I can see there's a flurry of activity, and we'll have more opportunity for questions and answers. But I think what we're going to hear from Christy Carter now, who's Program Officer at the Division of Aging Biology, to give a few tips and pitfalls. Having served a long time on study sections in the past and breaching no confidences or revealing no secrets, we often see the same things coming back as problems. And so it's going to be very useful to see what not to do when you're putting your application together. Christy, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Roz. And you are so right. So I served for many years on the other side. I'm actually new to DAB and NIA, and I'm the Training and Workforce Development PO specifically for DAB. So some of the things I'm going to say here are really geared towards people who are interested in the biology of aging. So now I'm on this side, so I can give you a few more tips. So when you're applying for a K award, and I mean, this really applies to anything, but really we're going to be talking about K awards here, is to start early. It takes so much time to make a really strong proposal. And if you want your mentor to read it, you cannot hand it to them 2 days before it is due and expect to get any feedback from them. So it's really important to start early, about 3 to 6 months before your deadline. And that's the deadline, I would say, for your institution's Office of Research. So make sure you really know what that is, because that's the real deadline you're working towards. Sometimes those deadlines could be 2 weeks prior to when the NIA deadline is. You also want to make sure that you establish your eligibility. I think that's one of the most important things. There are tight time windows for some of these grant mechanisms. So the first thing you should do is contact NIA training, let them know where you are in your career and if you're eligible. Sometimes you need to have an email from them and an eligibility letter stating that you're eligible. It's also the case that you can extend your eligibility if you've had some kind of family event. So if you've had a child, if you are taking care of a sick close relative, if you yourself have had something medical happen, you can have that eligibility extended based on those circumstances. So it's really important that you take advantage of every little amount of time that you have so you can write these grants. You should, I said, start with NIA training, because what they're going to do is they will pick the right PO that is probably going to be best to give you feedback on your grant. So if you're doing aging biology, I'm probably going to be your PO. So they would send it to me, and then I would work with you to make sure that you have everything in line, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. And then these are the other things that you can look up yourself. If you put in an application before with NIH, you know that there's a particular form that you have to use. You also need to have an ORCID ID. And so you have to do that through your institution. So make sure that you get that straight, and it's an electronic submission. So get to know your institutional people so that they can help support you, and be kind to them. So for advice for applying for these career transition awards, a development plan is just as important as your research plan. It counts for 50% of what your score is going to be. So make sure you spend as much time on that as you do on your research plan. And I'll give you tips on that in a minute. Both your advisor and you should explain your plans to transition to independence. I cannot tell you how important this is. You need to be able to say that the work that you're doing as in the postdoc phase is something that you're going to be able to take with you when you go into your independent phase. If you don't see that, reviewers will see you as being too tied to your mentor and will not see that you have a path towards independence. In saying that, for both the K99 and the K22, you need to describe the postdoc and independent portions. So you need to be able to say what you're going to be doing as a postdoc. So for the K99, as Jamie said, what your career development is going to look like. But even for the K22, when you're in that postdoc position, still you need to be able to say what your institution is going to do to help you find that next job. And even some career development that you may be still involved with before you make that transition to the independent phase in the K22. So again, apply early, allow time for resubmission, especially for that K99. It is a really tight, it is a really tight submission process. Okay, so review criteria. So what are reviewers looking for? And I can tell you this is what I'm seeing in study sections now. For the candidate, you need to talk about your potential for success. And one of the biggest pitfalls is that people, especially who are studying biology of aging, the first 2 years of their postdoc are spent collecting these massive amounts of data to turn into a Nature paper. So you're not even, maybe you won't even be submitting papers until the end of your second year. So what you need to do is you need to have a really clear publication timeline plan that you can demonstrate in your application. Otherwise, hopefully you have, so they're really looking for those papers that you've published in your first 2 years, not just in graduate school. So it's going to be really important that if you don't have those papers, that you have a very specific plan for when you're getting those papers out, where you're going to submit them, et cetera. Be as specific as possible, which is really important. For the career development plan, this also needs to be very specific. You need to make sure that you are pursuing opportunities around studying the biology of aging, especially if it's coming to DAB. This is really important. So many times people will submit something. They don't have a biology of aging mentor. They don't have any kind of meetings that they're going to around the biology of aging. So, and if you don't know what those are, those opportunities, please reach out to me. I have a whole list of them that you can include in your application. And when I'm helping you with your career development plan, I can help point those out for you as well. The research plan, of course, must be rigorous, significant, and sound. It should be a space where you can also learn about how to establish your lab and to foster your career as moving forward as independent. So that, keep that in mind. Independence is key. Your collaborators and consultants, people often ask, how many do I need? Well, you need as many as you need to get the job done. So you shouldn't be taking on extraneous collaborators just because maybe they have a big name, because people, the reviewers will also see that maybe this person, it doesn't have enough time to spend with you to actually mentor you. So it's important that you identify the people, exactly what they're going to do, which aims they're going to help you with, and which career development goals that they're going to help you with as well. And of course, the environment, you need to have the facilities and the support of your institution in order to be successful. The research strategy, I mean, these are very generalized tips, but I think for K Awards, one of the most important things is that you need to connect your research strategy with your career development plan. So anything like if there's something you want to do in AIM 1, but you don't know how to do it, that should be maybe your first career development aim, right? So you need to make sure that those things are very much linked together in order to show how you're going to accomplish your research aims. Because if you don't have the skills or the knowledge, that's what your career development is going to provide you. And you need to make sure that you're not, if there's some kind of career development you need prior to, say, your R00 phase with the K99 R00 grant, make sure you get that done prior to your R00 phase, because if that's what's going to lead, make you independent, you need to have that knowledge prior to entering that phase. So there should be that coherence between these two parts of the grant. I love this. Conduct your own peer review. This is so important. Read your application as if you were the reviewer. Ask people to read it who are not experts in the field. If they can understand it, then the reviewers can understand it. Because on these review panels, it's not just full of experts in the biology of aging. All the different K grants from each of the 4 divisions of NIA, including Division of Neuroscience, Division of Behavioral and Social Sciences, and the Division of Geriatrics and Clinical Gerontology, all of them are going to be in the same mix. So it may not be that you get the person who is the expert in your field. So you need to make sure that anybody can read this grant. You should also, maybe ask people who have just received a K award because they've been through the process and they've been successful. So those are really good having peer review of each other's grants is a great idea. Just make sure people, when they read it, they think it's a great idea. It's exciting. It has potential impact on the field, and it's an appropriate experimental approach. And I will say this too, I see this many times. If you're using a model organism, identify why you're picking that organism to use. Identify the ages of that organism that you're going to use and why you're picking those ages. Is there translational value in your model? And if so, you need to describe the significance of that. And you may not want to propose and be a little overambitious and propose to use like 2,000 mice in a 2-year period for your experiment, because these are things that are impossible. So, keep it real. Be grounded in what you're able to do. So make sure your timeline and also your budget is appropriate. And if you weren't funded on the first try, try again. It's the reviewers are there to provide you with critiques that are going to be helpful to you, hopefully. And when you get that summary statement, come back and talk to your PO, because that is something that they can help you interpret. Because many times there's like hidden things that are said, or particular words that are used in those summary statements, and we can help you interpret that. We can also give you we can't discuss what was going on in that room, but we could give you a feel for the tenor of what was going on in that room. And I think that's something important. And I know I do, and I know many of the RPOs in DAB fit through entire study sections just so we can see how everything is being reviewed. And I take notes for you, so I can let you know what was going on and help you really to improve your grant the next time. Yeah, and then revise and resubmit. Sometimes it takes 4 tries to get it, but if you don't keep trying, you don't get it. So I think persistence is probably one of the best characteristics that you can have in this business, and just to keep going. And learn about these training grants. As I said, talk to successful applicants, like Brianna. She's so great to be here. She's willing to share her story, and so are other people. And so if you attend meetings, I can help you network with people if you don't know them, and so that you can get to know these peers who are unbelievably helpful. And so glad Vita was here, because understanding the review process is really important. And now I'm sitting here thinking we need a whole other webinar just on that, really. And so anyway, and we can, if you contact training and you want to talk a little bit more about that, we can set you up with the right person to talk to. Here's some, we have resources. We have sample applications for K99s, and these are before and after. So ones that were scored but did not get funded or not discussed and were not funded, and then were funded on the second try. So these are amazing resources to have. You can also go to NIH Reporter if you're curious about, just type in what your subject of research is, and you will see by different institutes the number of types of grants they have around your subject. So you can see the number of K awards they have, and you can also get a list of program officials that have similar grants in their portfolio. But yes, you can also come just directly to us and we will point you in the right direction. Here are some other resources about how to apply from NIH, NIAID, and just how to strengthen your research plan for a better score. And the University of Colorado has a great intro to specific aims page information that you can look at. But again, the most important thing, once you have this draft of your one-page specific aims, send it to Maria and Jamie, because they are the people behind this email. Real people answering real questions every day. And they will send it to the PO that is best suited based on the scientific field. And yeah, we are here to help you. I mean, we are super responsive, we're approachable, and that's our job, is to help you get funded. That's what we want to do. So keep in touch. This is, again, first stop should be NIA training, and then they will direct you to me, and I can talk to you about your scientific questions around aging biology. And not just me, we have 20 other people in Division of Aging Biology. So if I need feedback on your aims from one of our other POs, we can get that too. So you've got a whole team working for you here at NIA and at DAB. So yeah, sign up for the newsletter. And people have been asking also, I believe we're going to make this webinar available. And if you're interested in some of these slides, also reach out to NIA training, and I'm sure they would be happy to share what they can. And I think that is it. So thank you.
Thank you, Christy. So thank you to all of the speakers. I see we have a couple of questions lingering up there that waiting for a response. I'll just read one out. Would holding a REDI K01 impede your ability to apply for and gain an R01?
Yes, that's a great question for all of the K awards. So once you've received a K award and you have started a faculty position, you are very much eligible to apply for an R01. The K does not get in the way of that. The one complication is that the K award requires you to commit 75% effort to that K award. So if you receive your R award, you're limited in how much percent effort you can commit to that R. However, in the final 2 years of your K, you can reduce from 75% effort to 50% effort. So that frees you up to commit more time to an R.
Great. And I saw a question from somebody inquiring about PhD students, and I would point you to the F99 mechanism. So that's before you get your PhD. It gets you the last 2 years of your PhD, and then their ticket to ride for the postdoc period. So that is exactly the one to go for there. One thing I just want to reiterate, I spent some time on the award panel for the study section for the K99s. And I think the same thing is true for all of these career awards. I mean, when we look at these applications, really, is this person going to be a future leader? Where are they now? And what do they need to get somewhere that is notably different from where they are now? And is what they have proposed going to get them there? So I think it's very helpful, instead of, get used to like this experiment, this experiment, this experiment. That's an R level grant. For a career, it's more about what are you doing? What do you need to equip yourself with to be into the next phase? So not to say that there's no science, there is, but it's a bit more gisty and it's a bit more holistic. And it works well when your training matches your research and your research matches your long-term ambition. So that kind of cohesion running through the entire application is very important. So you look like you're going to plant your own flag by the time the K is over. And if you can convey that sense to the reviewers, you're in like Flynn. I'm trying to see if there are any other questions that came through. The K01 is mentored. I think that's important to say. The new K22 is not mentored. The K01 is mentored. So make sure that you are fully aware of what the mechanism is that you're applying to. And then again, if you're going to be mentored, what is the nature of it? What do you not know that you need to know? And can you convey that you need to know it? So the training component becomes again important there. Okay, I don't see any more open questions.
I think there was one good one about the REDI K01 and whether is it do you need to know before you apply whether you're planning to sort of dabble in the non-academic world and come back versus planning to launch a new career, and are there different award rates for these two paths? So I couldn't say anything about award rates for these paths. We've had very few applications so far to this mechanism. In terms of whether you need to know, I think it is a lot easier for reviewers to give you a good score if you've made a choice and you're able to tailor your career development plan towards that specific path. If you truly don't know, I think you can try to craft an application where you describe the kinds of activities you'd be pursuing that are going to help you make that choice and help you identify the right path. But again, it's going to be easier for reviewers to give you a strong score if they're going to be able to say, I can see what this applicant wants, and I can see how these activities that they've picked out are going to get them to what they want.
I can see one here about the K01 mentor at your own institution, and I think Christy hit the nail on the head. Why is this person your mentor? And do they have the bandwidth, expertise, and established relationship to be your mentor? So there's an aspect of credibility there. So it doesn't matter if it's, the Elvis Presley of your field, spangly jumpsuit and all. And if they're not available to you, then they don't make sense to be on your team. And then also, avoiding that idea of having overlapping expertise. What are you going to do if you've 7 people all telling you different things?
Yeah.
But there has to be a reality check. What does this team look like? When will you meet them? How will you communicate with them? And what do they bring that is going to get you to the next phase in your career? So like I say, it's very gisty, and you need to have all these weaving in and out. So it's not that you can't have one, it's just why isn't it at your home institution when you can pop in with a cup of coffee in your hand? So it's about just building the right team and making sure that it's credible.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
So there's one here says, wow, I'm in over my head. So I think we gave you a lot of information. But this person says, is there anyone at NIH who would be a good person willing to brainstorm and inspire some future options for me? I think if you would like to reach out to NIA training, if you're looking for training options, and then they can direct you to a PHO who would be more than happy to brainstorm with you. So I think, yeah, all roads point to NIA training. If you're not sure where to go.
There's a good one here, applying for a K22, but they don't know the institutional environment where they're going. And I think, so if anyone wants to take that on, I don't want to be Hogmeads Express here.
Sure, yeah, so we did cover this a little bit, but most K222 applicants don't know where they're going or what that institutional environment will be. So actually for the K22, you want to describe your current institutional environment at your postdoc institution and how that environment is going to help you transition to a faculty position.
And I think it would be reasonable enough to say, look, I'm going to take these professional courses, unless you're going to the institute under a rock, there will be workshops. So you can say what kind of content you're going to learn without having to specifically say, this is business school 104 class on Tuesday, you don't. So again, more gisty. Let's see, any chance of getting funded for a K01 hire in resubmission? Well, if you make it look better, it'll score better. Is that so mean? I'm not seeing what you have and not knowing what you have. Lots of things come in as A1s, resubmissions. And often, people will look and see, have you been sensitive to the first round of review? And so, just you want to take on board, what are the reviewers telling you? What holes did they see? And it's not a criticism of you or your thinking or your thoughts. Ask yourself, did you convey that in an unambiguous way? What was the source of confusion? Why didn't they get what you were doing? And maybe look at it that sort of way and see if you can close up those gaps. But often things do score better on resubmission, in my experience. It's not a guarantee, but there are no guarantees.
Yeah, I think that's what we've, looking broadly at the data, things tend to score better on resubmission. But yeah, what were the comments that came from the first study section, and are they comments that are easily addressable, right? If they felt that there were fundamental flaws in the science that you're doing, maybe you're better off, retooling and starting anew. But if they felt that you needed more hands-on training in your career development plan instead of only coursework, then that's going to be a pretty easy comment to address, right?
Here's one for Beta. Will the same reviewers review a submission?
To continue this, to answer this question is, if you rewrite your application and rewrite it with totally new aims, yes, it's going to create more issues and maybe the score will change. But as Ross said, if you answer the criticism appropriately and make sure that your application is very clear and you have all the right answers, then hopefully you are going to get an improved score. Reviewers are going to see the past summary statement, and they are already aware of what comments the past panel had and how well you have addressed the question. So there is always hope to get a better score.
A question about same reviewers reviewing a resubmission. Not always. Oh, Christy's answering that already. Let's see, K22 citizenship, yes, indeed. But if you have a work permit, right, green card is okay.
So green card, permanent residency, but temporary visa will, exactly, yeah.
I know. I was in the same boat myself. I feel the pain.
It's tough, yeah.
How do you balance training so as not to appear too ambitious? Put on your common sense pants. Take a look and see, can this be done in the time frame or not? And the thing is, it's a career development grant, but we're looking for research leaders. So yeah, I'd say just contact your peers and take a look at some of the successful applications. I think you'll see, and no one application is the same as another. You devise a plan for you, for your goals, given where you are now and where you want to go. And obviously don't promise the moon.
No, and remember that you will have collaborators as well, right? So yeah, don't say you're going to do metabolomics, but you're not going to learn like 15 different omics in 2 years. So the future goal is that you would get collaborators who could help you do this as well. So remember that as part of your independent phase.
And it's okay to say you want a certain degree of mastery. You don't need proficiency. That's absolutely fine. You can train so you learn the language, the ideas, the themes, but not that you're going to become a master coder. So just pitch it at the right level. Okay, we're at the top of the hour. I'm going to say extreme thanks to everybody. I'm delighted so many people came in on the call. It's lovely. This will be available as a recording. Thanks to Christy, Jamie, Maria, Beta, and Brianna, of course. And behind the scenes, you can't see her, but she's in there doing all the great stuff. Gina Schoen from GSA. And thank you to GSA for allowing us to run the webinar. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.